Welcome back to Bobcat Breakdown. It's the start of a brand new semester, and we have a very exciting show planned for you tonight. We have freshman point guard Mikey Dixon of the men's basketball team live in studio for an interview, and our analysts talk men's ice hockey and what needs to change. And at the end of the show, we will pick our game of the week. All that and more coming up on Bobcat Breakdown. Hello and welcome into Bobcat Breakdown. My name is Chris Dace and I'll be your host tonight. And I am joined alongside MJ Barrett and Kyle Vassar. Guys, thanks for coming on. How y'all doing on this snowy evening?
Kyle, I'm having a great night. How about you?
I'm great. MJ, the snow can't stop us from the first episode of Breakdown from the year.
Chris, let's get started.
All right, we're going to get started off with the men's basketball team. As of right now, this team is 8-14 overall, 5-7 in MAC play. This team has dropped the past 3 games against Monmouth, Iona, and Siena. So my question to you guys is, does this losing streak bring this young Bobcat team back down to reality?
I'll take things with this one, MJ. I don't think you can really come back down from reality if you were never there. I mean, let's just face it, they were 5-4 before this 3-game losing streak started. So just above 500 really isn't out of this world. It's not really unreal. It's not a magical season to me. When I think of, a team that's out of this world, I'm thinking of a team like Wichita State from a few years ago that went undefeated until they lost to Kentucky in the NCAA tournament. I'm thinking of a small team like that as making a magical run. I'm not thinking of a team that's 5-4 in the MAC and that's just improved from last year. Yeah, they have made an improvement from last year, but really they've only made it to the 3rd highest rank in the MAC, so it's not like they were leading at any point. I do have to give them props to their overtime win at home against Iona. But really, Iona was struggling up to that point. They were 2-3 entering that game. They were having a bit of a rough stretch on defense. But really, the only teams they've beaten have come from teams in the bottom of the MAC, Niagara, Marist, Manhattan. So once they start beating those top-tier teams like Monmouth, like Iona on the road, then I'll start saying that, this is a magical team.
MJ, what about you?
Well, Kyle, I think the only thing you're missing here is, remember, this team was picked at the beginning of the season, preseason number 10. So when you get up to number 3, and you're not telling me, you're above earth, or you said they didn't come back down to earth, at some point they had to be riding high somewhere on the confidence. So I guess back to the original question, though, does this 3-game skid, Chris, bring them back down? I would say, I don't know if it's going to, but it definitely should. 3-7 is their record, Chris, when this team has televised games. One of those wins is overtime versus Iona. I thought this is very interesting. 3-7, that's not a very good record when you're playing on the big stage. And they have 2 more this season, ESPN3 and ESPNU, St. Peter's and Fairfield, respectively, down the stretch. So is this team going to come down from reality? I don't know. I think they have started to, if not completely have. Now, as you said, Kyle, sitting at 7th in the MAC, but they really should come down from reality if they haven't already.
Yeah, but MJ, what you have to look at with your point that, yes, they did make it to 3rd in the MAC when they were, their preseason pick was 10th in the MAC. You have to look at it's still halfway through the season, and there's only a game difference between those teams. So it's not like they're leading by that much from the middle of the pack. It's really only a couple of games difference, and that's why from this 3-game losing streak, they're already back down to 7th in the MAC.
All right.
Hold on. This is important, Chris.
Okay.
If you have a team that's picked 2nd to last, Kyle, and then you go ahead and tell me at some point in the season, 9 games in, that they're sitting at 3rd, that is good.
But you have to look at who they're playing. I mean, you should be beating teams like Marist, like Manhattan, especially on the road.
All right, so this is going to transition perfectly right into our next question.
On the road,
all
really?
That being said, do you believe this team has been overachieving this season with this as a young team? Do you think they've been playing above expectations? MJ, let's start with you.
No, they haven't been overachieving. Okay, you're already giving me the wow.
So how are you saying that they're not overachieving when you were the one that just said they were 3rd when they were expected to finish 10th? Isn't that a bit of an oxymoron?
I'll give you this: Peter Kiss and Mikey Dixon, they're overachieving. The Quinnipiac men's basketball team is
Peter
not
Kiss
overachieving.
Is overachieving.
Exactly.
And Mikey Dixon's not?
No, he's what I expected him to.
Those are 2 guys on the court right now, Kyle.
Please.
You need 5 guys on the court. That's 2 people playing. You need 3 other guys around them.
That's very true, Chris. But when you look at basketball, you have to look at players that can change a team. It's very different than football, baseball, hockey, where one player can just take over again. You look at LeBron James in the NBA, he transforms a team. I'm not comparing Mikey Dixon to LeBron James, but he does make a very big
not doing that alone.
impact. Mikey Dixon, we knew coming out of high school, he was a state championship. He won a state championship. He was the Delaware State Player of the Year. So yeah, we did expect that. Peter Kiss, on the other hand, had only played 3 years of competitive basketball, so we didn't really know how it was going to translate to the college game.
Thank you for padding my stats, because you just told me that Peter Kiss and Mikey Dixon have overachieved at the college level.
All right.
Case closed.
Speaking of Mikey Dixon, we actually have him live in studio with Shane Dennehy for an interview. Shane, what do you got for us?
All right, thank you, Chris. We're here with Quinnipiac guard Mikey Dixon. Mikey, thank you for joining us.
No problem, thank you.
All right, so how does it feel to be the eighth? How does it feel to be the 8th leading scorer among freshmen in the country, behind the likes of Markel Fultz at Washington and Malik Monk at Kentucky?
It's a good honor. But at the end of the day, I just try to go out there and just do whatever I could do to help my team win games. And if scoring, is what I do best, and that can help us. And that's when I try to go out every night and just do my best at it.
You recently played Monmouth last Friday. You played against Justin Robinson, who last night set the Monmouth's all-time leading scoring record and was voted unanimous preseason MAC Player of the Year. Where do you rank yourself among the other guards in the MAC?
I think I'm just as good as anybody. That's just my competitive nature. But like Justin Robinson, he's really good, and it's great to play against older guys like that in your conference, and and to see what it takes to be when you get a senior to lead a team and have a winning program by the time you're senior year. So I learned that it was good playing against him 2 times this year as a freshman.
Quinnipiac was selected 10th in the preseason MAC poll. Did that really motivate you and your teammates, as you guys are currently saying 7th?
Yeah, no doubt. Every time we try to keep that in the back of our heads, in practice, before games, just it gives us all something to play for, and it gives us a chip on our shoulder. We feel like we always the underdogs, and we always have something to prove every night out.
You've won 4 MAC Rookie of the Week awards this year. You won 3 in a row at one point. Peter Kiss, your teammate, broke that streak this past week. What did you really hope to achieve during your freshman season here at Quinnipiac?
Just try to be as productive as I can, help my team, be a good teammate, help my teammates out, and, just try to get the record better than it was last year and win more conference games than we did last year.
All right, thank you for joining me, Mikey. Good luck with the rest of your season. Chris, back to you at the desk.
Now we're back. Thanks, Shane. Great work as always. One question I have for you guys, since you were talking about these 2 freshmen, Mikey Dixon and P. Kiss, which one has impressed you the most this season? Kyle, let's start with you.
It has to be Mikey Dixon. He has completely turned this team around, MJ, and no, it is not false. You want to know how I define valuable,
Sure.
MJ? To me, value is all about how much you bring to a team and how much you are for the reason for them winning. And Mikey Dixon is the reason for them winning. If you look at each game that they've won, Mikey Dixon has outscored Peter Kiss in all 8 of their wins this season. He's averaging just over 21 points a game. When they do win, Peter Kiss is only averaging 14 points. That's a 7-point difference, MJ.
MJ, how about you?
I got Peter Kiss, Kyle. That's great that Mikey Dixon is outscoring Kiss when they win. I'm not sure if you looked at the losses, but the 2 games at the beginning of the season at the Advocare Invitational, remember, on the big stage, ESPN 3, ESPN 2, ESPNU, Peter Kiss led the team in scoring in 2 of those games. Yeah, he showboats, but that's the competitive edge I like to see. I'm taking Kiss if I had my first pick.
And those are big-time programs right there. Thank you, guys. We're going to take a quick break. Up next, we're going to go to the ice rink, and we're going to talk some men's hockey, and they're going to pick their game of the week later in the show. Stay with us.
Coming up on Bobcat Breakdown.
Coming up on Bobcat Breakdown. Welcome into Studio 125.
So what? So what?
If you score 40 points in a basketball game, we all know you play Quinnipiac Intramurals. We all know you love to shoot the rock.
Well, if you think that's the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard, what I'm about to say, I guess, is going to be pretty ridiculous in your book. But I'm going to say, yes, there is a controversy.
Line, getting ready to punch the ball as it lands right in front of another Monmouth player.
Coming up, coming up, coming up, coming up, and hashtag that. We are your source for Quinnipiac's entertainment news.
It's 9:30 Eastern, and you know what that means. Sports Pause is on the air.
Left ball played up the middle. Iman Whalen with a little cheat off the puck.
Preseason just boils down to going after another national championship and not necessarily focusing on the one before.
MJ, it is time for our favorite part of the show. It's the top 5 plays of the week, brought to you by B&D Deli, home of the Q-Dog.
Let's talk about the first play you want to break down.
Yeah, let's break it down right away.
But the one name I'm going to throw out there is a freshman, Mika Maples.
Welcome back, and thanks for sticking with us. Let's transfer to the hardwood, to the ice, to talk about some men's ice hockey. So guys, you've been around this team throughout the season and last season. Bit of a struggle this season. What would you say is the biggest issue for this squad this year?
Chris, I'm going to actually start with this one. Everyone listen up. The biggest issue for this Quinnipiac men's ice hockey team this year is finishing, scoring goals, Genos, back of the net, whatever you want to call it. Goal scorers. Quinnipiac doesn't have them. They lost Travis St. Dennis. They lost Sam Annis, Tim Clifton, Soren Janssen, Lennon Smith. Those 5 guys, I should have clarified, they didn't lose those guys. Tim Clifton and Lennon Smith, of course, are back. But those 5 guys were double-digit point scorers last year. 3 of them are now gone, so there's 2 left, okay? There is now 1 double-digit goal getter. His name's Tim Clifton. And up until Saturday night's ASU game, Arizona State, he was on a 10-game goalless streak. So when your leading goal scorer is on a 10-game goalless streak, you have a bit of an issue. So the biggest issue for this men's ice hockey team is goal scoring. Goal scoring. I'm sorry, but you can't win with 0 goals on the board.
Okay, Kyle?
MJ, the 2 Quinnipiac ice hockey teams that have made it to the national championship had elite goaltenders. That's what we're not seeing this year. That's what we're missing with Chris Truel and Andrew Shortridge in net. Chris Truel has the 10th best save percentage in the ECAC. That's not good enough. When you have your goalie consistently changing and being taken out of the game, and your point scorers don't have the confidence that your goalie is going to be there to back them up, how are they supposed to score goals? They're putting 50 shots on net, and they're still losing to Arizona State, to Princeton, against teams they really shouldn't have because their goalies aren't backing them up and bailing them out.
It's the goalie's fault that Quinnipiac puts 50 shots on net and scores none.
They should be, whenever your team puts that many shots on net and is scoring 3 goals, yeah, your goalies should be backing up your team and bailing them out.
All right, guys. So this team has a big game coming up against Yale, arguably their biggest rival in state rivalry. We have our very own Andrew Badillo talking over the phone with Zig Fracassi, who has the Sirius XM radio show. Andrew, what do you got for us?
Big weekend of ECAC hockey coming up. Quinnipiac has Brown and Yale this upcoming weekend. To help us break down the matchup with Yale, we invite on Sirius XM NFL Radio and Sirius XM sports host of This Week in College Hockey, Zig Fracassi, onto the program. Zig, how are you?
Andrew, good to be with you, my man. I'm well, thanks.
Good. Sounds good, Zig. Thank you so much for joining us. So Quinnipiac, Yale, it's probably one of the biggest rivalries in the ECAC, more so on the Quinnipiac side. If you ask Yale fans, they're like Quinnipiac, who they always say Harvard is their big rival. But moving along to the matchup this upcoming weekend, very different Quinnipiac team than we saw last year. Last time these 2 teams met up at Ingalls Rink in New Haven, Quinnipiac took that game 3-0. But Zig, what do you see as the big takeaways in this matchup? Quinnipiac's offense, Yale's defense?
Well, to answer your first point there, I think it's interesting about, Quinnipiac probably sees Yale more of a rival than the other way around, and I think that's simply because Yale's been an established commodity for all these years, and of course being, a recent national champion, I think there's sort of that pedigree, like, yeah, they're kind of there. It's almost like, teams try Sox rivalry. There's only one of those, and other teams try to claim into that.
Zig, what about their goalie, though, Patrick Spano, the Yale goalie? He has been the understudy in his previous 3 years at Yale in being the backup for Alex Lyon, but he's really come into his own this year, and it's quite the contrast on the Quinnipiac side in goal. It's been very inconsistent between Chris Truhl and Andrew Shortridge, just a little bit on the goalies and what you expect to see from both sides.
Well, you're absolutely right on the young man Spano, who got into all of 9 games his first 3 years with the Bulldogs. In fact, only 1 game last year. So, sometimes I think what happens is you can do one of two things. You can pout and transfer and baby up, so to speak, and leave, or you can get a good education like this young man did and realize that at some point your chance is going to come. And, let's face it, he had a shutout in December against Boston University in the time that he appeared in that game, so maybe that was a good confidence booster for him. His last 5 games, he's allowed a total of 7 goals over that time, so they got a little bit of a confidence boost with this young man.
Zig, thank you so much for joining us.
Andrew, my pleasure, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You guys can follow Zig on Twitter at ZigFracassi, ZigFracassi. All right, Zig, once again, thanks for joining us.
I can't remember my own name, so no problem there.
All right, Zig, thanks for joining us.
You got it.
Thanks, Andrew. Excellent work as always. And guys, this game, not only being a rivalry game, in-state rivalry bragging rights, it carries some load with it for especially come ECAC tournament time. So what are the chances that this QU team makes Lake Placid and makes the ECAC tournament?
Kyle?
There is no chance this team is making Lake Placid, guys. And
talk about a hot take.
No chance.
I really don't think it's a hot take. When you lose to Arizona State and when you lose to Princeton twice in a season, how are you expecting to make it up against teams like Harvard, Union, the 4th and 5th teams in the country, where Union has 1 first-place vote, St. Lawrence, Cornell, Yale? How are you expected to surpass those 5 teams? Also, Quinnipiac has struggled at home this year for the first time in plenty of years. They're 8-4-1 at home. They've lost to Princeton at home. They've lost to ASU at home. So even if they do get a home series leading into the semifinals at Lake Placid, I really don't have confidence that they could win that 3-game series. They struggled against Cornell last year, and that might be, if the season ended today, that would be who they play at home.
MJ?
Kyle, so first question, if you have a playoff series, this is a question for you. If you have a playoff series, a 3-game, would you rather play it at home or away?
I'd like to play at home, but they've struggled at home this year.
Okay,
There's
so
no denying that.
I'm going to go with that and roll and say that Quinnipiac, as Rand Pecknold said at Media Day earlier this week, would like to play at home. I think this team can and will get to Lake Placid. Here's why. Coaching. Rand Pecknold is a great coach. Defending award-winning coach of the year. And when you have players, we've talked about this before, Kyle, it's like a puzzle. I believe that this team has the pieces. They're just not fitting together correctly. Okay?
So what was that about them not having goal scorers then and not having point scorers? What pieces are you talking about with the puzzle?
There's different kinds of skaters on the ice. You can have, I said.
So they're missing the goal scoring piece of the puzzle. Okay.
They're missing the leading.
And they're also missing the goaltending piece.
Okay. I don't think they are missing it.
They are.
Okay.
So who do you think is going to lead them to Lake Placid?
Andrew Shortridge.
Really? Okay.
I think back at the Arizona State series, there's no reason he should have been pulled. He gives up 3 goals, yes, 1 at the beginning, very early in the second period, but there's no reason for him to be pulled. He needs the confidence. He needs to know, okay, I'm getting scored on, that's okay. Because he goes in for Chris Truhl the first half of the year. Chris Truhl was a starter. But back to what I was saying before, this team can get to Lake Placid, and I'm just going to take you through the end of their schedule real quick. They have 7 ECAC games left. Brown and Yale this weekend, as Andrew was talking about with Zig. You got Clarkson, you got Union and RPI.
Okay, so let's go game through game. Which ones you think they have a chance of winning? Who you think they're going to lose to?
Okay, can I talk now?
Of course.
So there's 7 games left. Brown this weekend, that better be a win. Yale, that's your rival on the road. If you want to make it to ECAC, that's a must-win game. Okay?
It is a must-win.
You got Clarkson. You're not playing St. Lawrence at home this year because you forfeited that to go play in Ireland. So you have a one-game weekend. If all your focus is not on Clarkson, then something's wrong.
I don't know about that. Clarkson's beating some good teams this year.
If all your focus is not on Clarkson, then there's an issue, and you better beat them if you want to make it to Lake Placid. Then you got Union. They're going to lose. That's a very good team in the ECAC. RPI, Yale and Brown at home again. RPI and Brown should be easy wins. Yeah, Yale game at home is going to be the deciding factor.
And we're going to take a break now. Up next, we're going to talk some women's basketball, and these guys are going to discuss the game of the week. Stay with us. Fight like
Coming up on hashtag that.
We are your source for Quinnipiac's entertainment news.
Coming up on Bobcat Breakdown.
Coming up on Bobcat Breakdown.
And welcome into Studio 125.
So what? Points. If you score 40 points in a basketball game, we all know you play Quinnipiac Intramurals. We all know you love to shoot the rock.
Well, if you think that's the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard, what I'm about to say, I guess, is going to be pretty ridiculous in your book. But I'm going to say, yes, there is a controversy.
Line, getting ready to punch the ball as it lands right in front of another Monmouth player.
It's 9:30 Eastern, and you know what that means. Sports Pause is on the air.
Ball played up the middle. Emmanuel with a little cheat off the pipe.
Preseason just boils down to going after another national championship and not necessarily focusing on the one before.
MJ, it is time for our favorite part of the show. It's the top 5 plays of the week, brought to you by B&D Deli, home of the Q-Dog.
Let's talk about the first play you want to break down.
Yeah, let's break it down right away.
But the one name I'm going to throw out there is a freshman, Mika Maples.
Hello and welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us. We're going to move back to the hardwood now and talk some women's basketball. Now this team, Bobcat team, in some first place. They're coming off their second MAC loss against Iona. It was a tough loss. A lot of foul trouble there. They lost pretty bad. But my question to you guys is, what is this team's biggest problem going into the last month of MAC play?
Kyle, I'll start off with this one. I think the perfect way to describe what I'm trying to say is what Shane Dennehy said yesterday on Sports Pause. Shane, you just heard him out talking to Mikey Dixon, but let's check out what he had to say last night on Sports Pause.
I really don't think it should be that much of a concern in these lower games in the MAC. Like, they really can handle any team, but then when they get in these big games with Iona, they really needed a basket. Nothing was falling for them, and they really don't have that number one option.
In there, which you probably should have. He said they have no issue scoring against, the worst teams in the MAC, the teams towards the bottom, but it's against powerhouses such as Iona, who's up there with Quinnipiac, that their lack of a consistent scoring threat hurts. And I think Shane hit it perfectly on the head. This Quinnipiac team, they don't have an exact go-to player who they know, we got X amount of seconds on the shot clock, we're going to her for the basket. Paula Strobene, in my opinion, should be this player, but she's struggling a little bit. She's shooting 16% from beyond the three-point arc, or just over 16%. She's only taken 30 shots, but there's a reason she's only taken 30. She's not really hitting them, so she's not confident. She's trying to work down low in the post like she should be with that tall stature. But Kyle, I really think the biggest issue here is they don't have a go-to player like most teams really do have.
MJ, your reasoning was right. You were right there. You almost had me. And then your mark was just off when you said Paula Strobene over Erin McClure. Erin McClure, MJ, was my preseason MAC Player of the Year. I thought she really had what it took after an excellent rookie campaign. But really, she struggled in the games that it's mattered. Their 2 MAC losses this year, she only had 2 points in each game. 2 points against Iona, 2 against Monmouth. That's not going to cut it. And when you have those games against those tougher opponents, you really need your superstars to pick it up. Erin McClure has the ability, but she just hasn't consistently done it against those top teams.
I agree, Cal. McClure's got to be kicking herself a little bit. You know, why won't the ball fall in for me? But I think eventually it's going to come, and this Quinnipiac team is going to make a deep run in the MAC playoffs.
Okay, so now we're going to go to our game of the week. We're going to move back to the ice on for this one. A lot of jumping around in this episode. And the game of the week is the Quinnipiac men's ice hockey team at Yale. MJ, who do you got in this one?
Well, to stay true with what I said a couple minutes ago on the show, Chris, men's hockey at Yale. Yes, I understand this is at Yale, at Ingalls Arena. It's going to be a hostile atmosphere, and Yale's the Bulldog and the Bulldog faithful are going to make sure it's tough for Quinnipiac. But I'm going to go with Quinnipiac to win this game. As I said, they're going to win 6 out of the last 7 ECAC games to make it to Lake Placid, or at least I think so. Andrew Shortridge, he needs to start in net for the Bobcats. And I think if he does, and if the forwards, that power play was starting to come around again in the Arizona State series, Kyle. I think it was 3 power play goals in 2 games. They had a 4-on-3 goal, too, which I think was very important. This power play, granted, yes, it was Arizona State, but seriously, this power play is starting to move the puck better. You saw one of the goals the other night on Sports Pause, just textbook power play goal for this Bobcats team. And I think it's special teams that's going to make the difference against Yale this weekend.
Well, MJ, you and I disagree about how they're going to finish the season. I think they're going to lose this game against Yale. It's on the road. Just looking in their last 10 games, it's been 2 completely different teams. Yale 7-1-2. They're riding hot in these last 10 games, whereas Quinnipiac's 4-6 with some bad losses against Princeton and Arizona State. Yes, it is a rivalry game, and in past seasons, we have seen Quinnipiac turn it up against their interstate rival. But they do have 2 new goaltenders that are a freshman and a transfer, so they really don't know what this rivalry is like, at least on the ice. Yes, Truel was here last year, but he wasn't down either on the bench or on the ice, so I don't think he really is going. Either of them are going to understand what it's like or have the experience to go into a hostile Ingalls Arena and be able to stop this excellent Yale power play.
And Kyle, it's interesting you say that too. It is the second night of the weekend series, and Rand Packnell has been saying it now for a couple days, even a couple weeks. Quinnipiac struggled, to come out in that second game with the same power they have in the first game, and that could play dividends if they, give up an early goal or something like that to Yale.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that was the exact problem that they had against Arizona State after a bit of a comfortable game in the first game when they won 5-2. It was a bit of a slow start. It took them 8 minutes to record a shot, MJ. Yeah. So it just shows, you're right, that the second game is always a little tougher for the Bobcats.
Quickly, what do you have for a score?
3-2.
What about you, MJ?
I got Quinnipiac 4-2 with an open net goal, though.
Open net goal.
Yep.
All right, and that is all the time we have for today. For more information on all things Bobcats athletics, make sure you check out our website at www.q30television.com. And if the internet isn't your thing, go follow us on Twitter at Q30Sports. For MJ Baird and Kyle Vassar, my name's Chris Stacy. Stay safe and have a spectacular night, Quinnipiac. We'll see you next week.